What up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Get This D live episode. I am your host, D.Smith, man. Thank you guys for taking out a little bit of time of your day to, you know, check me out real quick. I'm continuing the conversation I had a little earlier on Instagram about the power of why. All right, so the title of this live is The Power of Why. Okay. I know a lot of y'all may be wondering what the fuck is so important about the power of why. What's the significance of the question why? I think the word why or the question why is probably the most important of all the questions. In my life, the word why um, has been has been a torch for me. Um, Going through a lot of things that I've gone through, um, I've had a lot of time to sit and analyze myself and analyze how do I handle certain situations that are out of my control. How do I handle situations that are in my control? And why all this shit is happening, you know? Um, and what I've come up with is a lot of accountability. So, if you guys have checked out a couple of my shows, you might have heard accountability thrown around a lot. And that's because it's a very important topic to me because it ties into so much other shit going on around us. Um, and so the power of why for me in my life has been very crucial in helping me um, has been crucial in helping me be accountable because a lot of times people don't want to ask why because they don't want to take blame or take accountability for themselves. And so they won't delve into the why of certain things. Me, I've had nothing but time and opportunity to delve into the why of certain things. Why do I feel this way? Why do I think this way? Um, why is this happening? Trying to put some meaning and trying to find some ground in whatever chaos is going on or whatever abnormality is going on. Life happens, it doesn't ask your permission, and oftentimes you are left trying to react to it. They say, what is it? 10% of life is what happens to you, 90% of life is how you respond to it. Um, there's your why, you know. Um, you don't you don't have to walk through the world wondering let me rephrase that. Let me back up. There are times when I have seen things and wondered why. Why does that person do this? Why are they doing this? Why is this allowed and this is not allowed? Um, why is this group being treated a certain way versus this group? Um, when you do that, it causes you to go down a rabbit hole. It causes you to dig. It causes you to find more behind what's in front of you. And in searching for my why, it's brought me to a place where I had to own up to my bullshit. It's brought me to a place where I had to own up to my input in certain situations. It's brought me to a place where I had to own up to uh, my part in whatever happened or my part in whatever didn't happen in terms of me not being present or me not giving my input. Um, I encourage people to really stop and take some time to think about themselves when certain things happen. If you know you have a bad attitude, if you know that your propensity is towards negativity, ask yourself why. If you're somebody that's always sad, or you find yourself getting sad about certain things, or you find yourself feeling certain ways around certain people or around certain situations, ask yourself why. Stop and ask yourself, and in that moment, why am I feeling this? And oftentimes, you'll follow yourself up with some more questions, which is what why is supposed to do. supposed to cause you to ask more questions, more questions, more questions, more questions to really iron out this why thing. You know what I'm saying? Let me um let me give you an example. Okay. Growing up, I grew up in as the middle kid. I grew up as a middle kid. Um, and I always felt like my mom treated me differently than my brothers. Of course, she'd say she didn't, but perspective is perspective. Um, so growing up, I always kind of had this weird feeling of being in between. This weird feeling of not being able to be seen or not being able to be heard because I was wedged in between an older brother and a younger brother. The older brother was a few years older than me, 6 years older than me, so he had some freedom. He was a big kid. And then my younger brother, who was born on the same day as I was, 1 year after my first birthday. Well, actually, on my first birthday. So, growing up, I never really had time to be the only kid. I had a year, if that, and then, I was wedged in between two siblings. So, growing up, I always felt like my mom treated me differently. Um, as I've gotten older, I've questioned myself. Why do you feel that way? Why is it that you feel that way? You know, and I've had to answer that, and to be honest with you, the reason I felt that way was because the attention either went more towards the older child or the younger child got a little bit more attention. And by way of me being right there in age range, um, I felt a certain way about that. Part of that could just be subconsciously. It may not be that my mom treated us that much different, although I do remember specific times when she did. But that may not even be it. It may just be that I'm seeing things from the wrong perspective. It may just be that I'm looking at it from a different angle, you know. So if I don't ever question myself and ask myself why I feel that way, I never get to the point where I realize this ain't got nothing to do with mama. This is all me, you know. Um, People interpret shit all the time. People around you do things, people around you say things, and you don't quite know where it came from. You don't know what they mean by it. You don't know where their energy is coming from when they bring it to you, when they say it to you. Oftentimes, rather than people following up and going to ask, engage in conversation to get understanding, what they tend to do is take what they see and run with it, and be completely off base. Completely off base. How many times have you jumped on conclusions about something somebody did or something you saw, only to come back later on and find out that you were dead wrong? You know, part of that is questioning yourself rather than looking at what other people are doing. Look at how you're interpreting it and ask yourself, why are you interpreting it that way? And if you're honest with yourself, you may be able to backtrack and pinpoint an answer to that question. And it won't just be something loose or frivolous that you just say. It'll actually be something concrete that you can use to build off of because you've broken yourself down to a place where you don't have nowhere to run. I've had moments where I've broken myself down to a place where I don't have nowhere to run. When I look in the mirror, I'm not looking around for a scapegoat. Everything in that mirror is all me. So when I ask about why, that why is standing right there in my face. I don't have to guess it. I don't have to second guess it. I don't have to avoid it. I don't have to dodge it. I can accept it for what it is, look dead in that mirror, and accept the why. Because I've always asked myself why. I've always been self aware and I've always been self examining. So whenever I ask about why, I'm always wondering how far is this going to take me when I ask why by myself? When I ask why, um, uh, for example, when I got divorced, and I don't wish divorce on any man. I really don't because it's not the most pleasant thing to go through. It's not a great experience to go through. It's a pretty rough experience to go through, honestly. But going through my divorce really brought me to a lot of accountability, and a lot of understanding the whys. Understanding the whys, understanding why certain things happened, why the marriage failed, um, why I felt how I felt, why I felt so low. Another thing, when you get into these situations where um, you hitting rough patches in life, or you hitting those patches in life where you just in a storm, you just in a storm. Everything around you is stormy. Nothing around you is settled. Everything around you is up in the air. Everything around you is uncertain. Everything around you is chaos. And it's hard to see a way out of that. It's hard to see sunshine through those gray clouds. But one thing that helped me is asking myself why. Why are you going through this? Why are you feeling this way? Why? Is it because you need something? Is it because of lack of something? Is it because you didn't do what you were supposed to do? Is it because there were things you should have done that you know you didn't do? Is it because um, you were not who you were supposed to be? Now, these are all questions I've asked myself. So I discovered and rediscovered a lot about myself through asking why. I'm not a guru, not a relationship coach. I am not a psychiatrist. I am not um, Oprah, and I'm not Ayala. Yeah, I know what I'm talking about. I'm not Miss Van Zant. I'm just somebody who's lived a little bit of life and have a little bit of experience and likes to think about those experiences that I had in order to learn about other things about me. And I learned that um, I need logic. I need logic. Um, Power of why. Why gives you logic. People do crazy shit all the time. I always wonder. Here's the thing. It's something I do. Whenever I run into something that somebody does, or I see people doing that I definitely wouldn't do, that's outside of my wheelhouse, or that's outside of my experience, or that's outside of my character, or whatever. Um, I always try to see why they did it. A man goes and murders his ex-wife and his girlfriend, his pregnant girlfriend. Y'all remember that story? Happened a couple months ago. Guy went on Facebook Live, um, recorded himself going to his ex-wife's house, confesses that he killed his girlfriend, and now he's headed to his ex-wife's house, and then subsequently kills her. I don't agree with that. That's not something that I would do. However, to flush out the why, what I would do in that particular situation or scenario is I would question myself and ask myself, what would it take for me to be in that same position to do that same thing? Now, me as Dennis E. Smith Jr. would never do that. Would never do that. Had opportunities to, would never do it because it's not me. It's not what. That's not how I operate. But I understand, and that's not saying that I agree with what he did, but it's saying that I have questioned myself enough to where I can put myself in a scenario and work backwards to understand something that is not understandable. You get what I'm saying? That's not something I would ever do. But if I'm being honest about human nature, I can see a certain set of scenarios happening to where that could be me. Same thing about robbing a bank. I wouldn't rob a bank. I'd never rob a bank. But I understand why people would. Not that it's something that I would do, but I understand the why. What would it take for me to be in a position where robbing a bank is actually a logical option? You know, so I wouldn't rob a bank, but I can completely understand somebody being down on their luck, or somebody being down in life, or somebody being very, very desperate and not having answers, or somebody um, um, not having support and feeling like, you know what, nobody else cares, so I'm going to go do this. You know, the human mental is the human mind is very, very fragile, and so it don't take much for goody two shoes to be a murderer. It don't take much for the loving man to be a monster. It don't take much for the accountable to be unaccountable. It don't take much. It's really that thin of a line between truth and false, between peace and war, you know. And in between that, on that line is the why. And so while I wouldn't advise um, going out into the streets rioting, I understand why. I understand why. I wouldn't do it. That the verdict for George Floyd a year or two ago, and they rioted all up and down Chicago, tore up a whole lot of shit. I didn't agree with it. Didn't agree with it, but I understand why. I understand why. So I only say that to say that the whole point of this conversation is to get you to examine your why, to get you to look in the mirror and ask yourself why. When you do something that you know good and damn well affected some other people, ask yourself why. When you find yourself feeling certain ways, jealousy, envy, fear, hopelessness, despair, when you start feeling these things, be aware in your moment, be aware in the moment and stop it and catch it and ask yourself why. Why? Do that daily maintenance on yourself. Ask yourself why. Why? Why do you do this? Why do you do this? Why do I need this? Why do I need to eat that? Why do I need to buy this? Why do I need to go there? Why do I feel this way? Why do I ask yourself little things? Get into the habit of asking yourself why. And you'll learn so much more about yourself. I promise you'll learn so much more about yourself. If you just take some time to ask yourself why. Okay. Now I ain't gonna hold y'all. This is a quick 18-minute live, man. So I'm going to go ahead and end it at that. So man, look, y'all make sure y'all check out the channel, get this D. There'll be more content coming. Things will get better. I'm not the greatest on camera, but I will get better as time goes on, of course. Um, and yeah, man. So y'all stay on the lookout for more content. Okay. Love y'all. Peace.